Greetings everybody and welcome back to another livestream recap. As you might know, I'm ImagineerDave, the host of this channel, and I work towards Minecraft's most realistic real way. That being said, today I'd like to take you into the episodes 241 till 250 of the Create SMP series. In these episodes we will get to work on laying rails and signaling around the new station, and yes, you might have guessed it from the last one, the Cathedral as well. Let's no longer linger and get into what happened, starting at 241. Starting off in episode 241, I worked on a new rail connection between the new station, which is called Westward by the way, and the main line. By adding in this rail line, trains that could come from Cozy Toes don't have to go through the branch line, but can instead join straight onto the main line itself. When this new line was done, it was time to start setting up the signaling in episode 242. However, this time around I decided to do it a little more realistic than last time around. Well, the signals are the same, the system behind it isn't. For this signaling I want to display accurate route information instead of just which tracks are empty and the green or yellow if it's safe to cross. By creating fake signals that I could trigger with redstone, basically just a signal on a hidden bit of track, I could decode various redstone inputs to certain signal outputs. By linking up the redstone outputs from the actual track section signals, I could get redstone states from which sections were occupied and which were empty. Combining these would show if a full section from the main line to one of the platforms, for example, would be clear or not, and therefore give a green or a red signal. As you can clearly see, it gets messy really fast, but hey, it's worth the effort since in the end I can manually control the trains without worrying anymore, and it just looks really cool. In episode 243, I worked on the signaling on the other side of the station, which was a big improvement from the first side, since this would be controlled by Computerized. Off-stream, I wrote a little script that makes me able to easily set up the inputs and outputs and give it a nice table to decode the inputs as well. When all the hardware was installed, it was a little bit of setup, of which mostly was naming the different sections for easier later setup, and then the setup of the decoder itself. The decoder itself is essentially a table, and this table is rather easy. On the top of this table there would be the sections, and on the left there would be the signals that are being controlled. By changing the squares at the intersections of these two from green to red, that input would change the signal to red. So basically saying, once this section is occupied, set that signal to red as well. Ah, there it is. More work on the Cathedral, of course. In episodes 244 and 245, I started working on the giant copycat Cathedral again. This time on the apse. The apse is the back part of the Cathedral in which often the altar and the bishop's throne would stand. In the last recap, I explained more about this. Starting from the inside really helped here, since it would define where the flying buttresses would stand, how large the outside windows would be, and I could already get a glimpse of the ending of the nave. After some trial and error, I quickly picked up the pace again once my measurements were done, and I added in the hemispherical vaults, finishing off the main inner part of the cathedral. From here on, I could work on the clear story windows and eventually the roof of this aisle on the outside of the apse, finishing the top part of the apse itself. In episode 246, I continued working on the lower part. By taking away smaller chunks of the building and working on those separately, it was a lot easier to get my head clear and not be distracted. At first I started working on the 22.5 degree windows, which would be rotated as well to become the 67.5 degree windows. But from here on, work slowly continued, making a few more straight windows, aka 90 degree windows, and once I had them all done, basically the windows on the ground floor were done as well. When this bottom section was done, it was time to go back up to the flying buttresses itself. However, these flying buttresses would be a little more tricky since they are on an angle as well. So normally I only have the arch of the 90 degree version, but in here you have an angle plus an arch. Very fun. Now that the main part was done, it was time to move back to the front in episode 247. To, well, maybe the most important part, the towers. Before I started construction, I made a mini version of what I wanted the base shape to be like, and from there on I went to building it. It was really important for me to get the silhouette of the towers right, and therefore I started on the corner columns and their buttresses. These vital components would eventually give the strength to the tower and also be a big part in if the towers would look too fat, too skinny and unsturdy, or if they would look in the perfect ratio. From here on out, I could start adding in details of which, to be honest, many are inspired from the Notre Dame. The Notre Dame has some really cool features on the towers itself. The only thing I do not like about them is their flat ending. After a little bit of work on the towers though, Yorick sent me an image of how the Notre Dame's towers should have actually been, and well, that was really epic. The real towers were supposed to be almost 2 times as tall, with a giant lantern and an angled roof on top. I have no clue why they weren't built, but I took a great deal of inspiration from these drawings and eventually it might sort of resemble it almost. In episode 248, I worked more on the tops of the towers. As you can see, some work was done off stream to speed up the progress a bit more. The tower tops feature a gigantic spire roof in the middle, surrounded by 4 side towers with their own spires. See, besides looking really cool, these 4 corner towers actually have a function. Firstly, they make the tower able to smoothly transform from a rectangular or square shape into a hexagon shape. From this hexagon shape, the central spire can be built more easily and sharper, giving the building more elegance and guiding the view more up to the heavens. Besides this, the 4 corner towers give some weight to the corners on which the stresses from the main spire are the greatest. By creating this weight and thickness, the forces can be dealt with and guided to the corner buttresses. Now that the towers are also done, it is time to work on the last bits, including some interior work, some facade bits, and of course the walkways through the cathedral. In order to get to the higher level, I still needed a staircase, and in episode 249 I tackled this. At first I looked into building a staircase inside of the walls, but eventually I decided to add a staircase tower on the side of the main one. Within this staircase tower, or a turret as you might also call it, I would create a spiral staircase that would continue on until the attic level. From here, staircases in the attic and the belfry of the tower could get you further up, but this was a little off-stream detail added later. When all of this was done, one of the last parts left was the front facade of the building. By creating some big rectangular doors with arch windows above it, I could still let in light, but also make an entrance that would guide views into the cathedral from far away. And that was it for this episode. We are so close to finishing up the cathedral and building it in game, but sadly due to me miscounting episodes, it couldn't happen on episode 250. But hey, at least there is more to look out for in the future. As always, I want to thank you so much for following along, as it really helps me to stay motivated and make more plans. If you want to check out these live streams, be sure to join my Discord down below to get notified when I'm live, or follow me here on YouTube to get community notifications. If you are looking for schematics, some can be found over at my Discord and others at my Patreon page. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching. This is ImagineerDave, signing off. So, bye bye!